So fungi have a very amazing amount of biological diversity. Scientists have formally described about 100,000 species of fungi, but they're discovering new ones all the time. And based on the rate of new discovery, scientists estimate that there actually may be as many as 1.5 million species that exist, or 15 times the number that have already been described. Now, like the other groups that we've already talked about, there is some uncertainty in how to classify different groups of fungi. Most scientists consider fungi to be one kingdom within the domain Eukarya. However, there is some uncertainty about the classification below the level of kingdom. A number of different phyla have been recognized, although recent molecular analysis has shown that some of these groups previously considered to be phyla may actually not be monophyletic. So here we present one hypothesis about fungal classification. Okay, the phylogenetic tree in your textbook has divided this kingdom into 5 different groups. And the group at the root of this phylogenetic tree, the chytrids, is one of the groups whose classification is quite uncertain. Your textbook uses the drawing of these 3 lines leading to the group chytrids to show that that group may not be monophyletic. Okay, scientists are still working on how to classify these species. So it may be the case that this problem can be resolved by classifying some members into the other groups. Or it may be necessary to split the chytrids into several different groups and rearrange their placement on the phylogenetic tree. Similar taxonomic uncertainty exists among the zygomycetes. So let's explore some of the interesting characteristics of the species found in these different groups. Okay, the chytrids are probably the group that diverged from the rest of the fungi the earliest. Okay, they can be fairly simple, and they're often found in aquatic habitats, although some species have invaded land. Their flagellated spores are evidence of their dependence upon water. Okay, they need water to disperse. They're not like those puffball mushrooms that you can kick and see the spores dispersing by the wind. Okay, some of the chytrids are known to cause diseases. And about 20 years ago, scientists started to recognize that there were a lot of problems with amphibians all over the earth, especially in tropical areas. Scientists noted that they were dying off at a rapid rate, and a number of body abnormalities were noted, like frogs with extra legs. Although originally chemical problems and pollution were suspected for these abnormalities and for the rapid declines of amphibians, many of the declines were eventually linked to a chytrid fungus that infects and causes diseases in the amphibians. And it was thought that increased human travel to remote areas was spreading these fungal diseases across the globe. Okay, so the next group, the zygomycetes, includes some species that you're probably familiar with. The bread molds. Other species are parasitic or have a beneficial relationship with many other species. The glomeromycetes include many arbuscular mycorrhizae species. Okay, remember, these are species that help plants to grow by sharing their nutrients with the plant roots. Okay, and let me just remind you how important these mycorrhizal associations are. Many of the species that humans depend on for food and other resources couldn't survive difficult periods like drought or disease without the help of these mycorrhizae. Okay, mycorrhizae also make it possible to grow food in soil with lower amounts of nutrients. Okay, so these next two groups include a lot of brightly colored and fairly flashy species, as well as species that humans use for food. So if you enjoy eating gourmet mushrooms, if you like bread, drink beer, or if you've ever been treated with an antibiotic to clear up an infection, thank a fungus. Okay, the ascomycetes are species that can be found in a variety of aquatic and freshwater habitats. Most of the terrestrial species either have this cup-like structure that gives them the name sac fungi, or they have this funny structure here that's characteristic in this individual called a morel. It looks kind of like a sponge at the end of a stalk. And my favorite is this species here that looks like pink wine glasses. Now this group also includes some unicellular species, including the yeasts. Okay, remember that yeasts are not only involved in baking bread, but also in making beer. So interestingly, the microscopic fungus that's responsible for producing the antibiotic penicillin is also found in the ascomycetes group. Okay, although antibiotics are now often derived from other sources, penicillin was the first antibiotic to be discovered. So if it weren't for this fungus, it would have taken a lot longer for modern medicine to discover this really interesting tool that's now been responsible for saving millions of lives. Okay, the ascomycetes also contain some edible species. The morels, like this individual pictured here, that are considered a delicacy in French cuisine, as well as the extremely expensive and highly sought-after truffles. Okay, I didn't include a picture of a truffle because they're not much to look at. They look kind of like a little pebble. But they're considered a delicacy, and they usually sell for thousands of dollars per pound. Okay, now that's one expensive mushroom. Finally, the basidiomycetes also contain several flashy species. So the fruiting bodies of the basidiomycetes are the umbrella-shaped structures that we call mushrooms. And as you're probably aware, there are some highly toxic species, as well as a lot of species that we humans really enjoy eating. Okay, there are also some ectomycorrhizal species within this group. Now remember that a mushroom is just a small part of an organism. Under the ground, a mushroom is connected to the dense network of hyphae that we call the mycelium mat. You might find it interesting that among the largest organisms in the world are basidiomycete fungi. Okay, there's a species that's now known to live in Oregon and Washington, and scientists have discovered individuals growing underground that cover an enormous area. A single individual of this species was actually mapped out to cover an area of approximately 3.5 square miles. Okay, if that's not an impressive enough number, that's equivalent to about 2,200 acres or more than 1,600 football fields. Okay, that was a network of hyphae coming from a single individual. And it was appropriately nicknamed the humongous fungus. Scientists also estimate that the age of that fungus is about 2,400 years old. Okay, so I hope that you've developed a new appreciation for these diverse and interesting organisms that have a lot of beneficial uses